Hello, good evening, Oral Gibbs, and welcome to Speaking of Everything. And with me this evening, we have none other than Ms. Nkosazana, Illis, President of Voices Foundation. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Well, it's good to have you in the program because you have quite a great foundation that reminds us of the past, right?
Correct, correct.
So it's been quite a interesting years when you look back. I remember this year, on the 1st of July, you honor many of us in radio, and everyone said, well, everybody there is in radio except you, Oral. They didn't realize I started in radio.
Yeah, it was radio and television.
Yeah. So how has it been? Because Voices Foundation, it's been around for a long time.
Correct. I started Voices Foundation in 2002 in the Netherlands. Actually, it started after the brutal murder of my youngest sister, Micheline Illis Douglas.
Right.
And I made a promise to her when I came home to bury her in 2001 that I would name a foundation in honor of her,
Right.
and it would become her voice, my voice, the voices of the people. And that's where Voices was born. So I launched it in 2002 in the Netherlands, and we did activities in the Netherlands, and I traveled to different places. I've been to South Africa. I did my internship there. But at the same time, I also work with the Voices Foundation with abused women in South Africa at the Sergeant Bartman Center, which was fabulous. And then in 2009, I came back to St. Martin, and I launched it in St. Martin in 2009.
So, you know, you've been in this program before and you told us, but what happened? A lot of things change in St. Martin. New people come in, more people watch the show, and that's the reason why I asked you to give us a little background again of the foundation. I noticed the foundation has grown quite a bit because now on July 1st, everyone looks towards your foundation to make sure everything goes well on that day.
Correct. It's a spectacular day, but for me, it's a historical moment, a historical day. It's one of the days that we are able to honor our forefathers, honor our ancestors, and not only honor our ancestors, but also honor persons within our community that is doing a great job giving back to our community. We think that is also important. Voices also believe that sometimes we have persons doing great jobs within the community and they're not being recognized. And of course, we can't recognize everyone, but we try our best to recognize persons that are not being recognized regularly and doing great job within our community. For the past 2 years, the government has collaborated with us, the culture department, and we have been doing it since 2011. So next year is the big one. It's 5 years that Voices is hosting the Cultural Ancestral Emancipation Day celebration at the Emilia Wilson Park.
You ever thought that Voices Foundation will be where it is today? Because when I was sitting at the park and I looked around me and I saw all the people and the dignitaries and everything else, you've come a long way.
Yes, we have. I have a vision for Voices, and the vision is big. I know that we are heading in that direction. We are not there yet. We are getting there. And it takes time. It's like baby steps. The most important thing for me, Oral, is to have a stable foundation, a solid ground. And then you build on that foundation, not to rush anything, not to be intimidated by anyone, but to just be true to Voices, because Voices is a foundation for the people, from the people, by the people.
But you know, when you look around St. Martin for foundation and for the age of the foundation, you've really grown by leaps and bounds. And in a very short period of time, what you've done in that short time takes foundation sometimes 15, 20 years to attain.
Correct. I am very honored. I'm very happy. But it could not have happened without the people of St. Martin, because they also see the necessity of a day such as Emancipation Day, July 1st. And I believe it's also a day that is teaching us to understand our own history, to build on, continue building on that history, and to leave legacies behind. That is the significance of July 1st. And for especially the younger generation to understand the elders, to have this respect for our elders.
What do you think about, you think your parents had any influence in you in terms of what you're doing?
Yes, very much so, both mother and father. My mother has always instilled in us that we have to create value in our lives. My father, which is the late Jose Lake Sr., and my mother, Ulrika Illis, has been parents that from very young give us a foundation to believe in ourselves, but also to know who you are, know where you come from and where you're going, but to always have respect for our elders and to recognize that you have to be the one taking action. Don't sit back and allow things to happen to you. My mother would say, I make you the child, but I didn't make you mine. So you have to choose, you have to make choices. My father would say, you have to become a person of action, because action speaks louder than words.
Do you know, when you look back at St. Martin and you look back at your father, the legacy of your father and your brothers and sisters and the publishing of the newspaper and what they went through those years, for just carrying articles on the oppression of black people in Africa, the resistance, the anger towards them by their very own people in St. Martin. I don't know if you ever look back at that and see where you are today, and then when you fast forward to July 1st, 2015, and you see some of the very same people who resented that today now looking forward and say, wow, this is great.
Correct. It is so, I'm getting a bit emotional now, just listening and everything that's happening. But I know that on July 1st, 1959, my father launched his newspaper, Windward Island Opinion.
Right.
And it's not only that late you recognize how everything is forming and folding and molding into each other. And I always believe and I always say, you can cut down the tree, but if you don't dig up the roots, you have a serious situation, and yes, we are the roots of the tree, and the tree got to have roots, because without roots, there is no tree. So as you see now with July 1st, coming back to July 1st,
right,
looking at all those years and what's happening now, you see it's coming back in a different form, but the foundation is a solid foundation, because it's not only for me, it's for all St. Martiners.
But you know what? When you go to Curacao, you see how they remember the history, the past. You go to Guadeloupe, you go to Martinique, you see the same thing. You come to St. Martin, and it's only now beginning to happen.
Yes. It is so true. I believe nothing happened before its time, and when the people are ready at the right moment, things are going to manifest. But they were already set in motion from way before my time. What I'm doing, I'm just building on the foundation that was already laid for me by my father and many others before my father and like my father, which I'm honored to do and to be part of. And I don't take the credit. I give the credit to our elders, to our ancestors, for they have foreseen this day. It's only now that they are giving the messages to all of us, including myself. But what I do, I listen. I hear and I say thank you, because I'm so grateful that it was entrusted to me to do what I'm doing on a day like July 1st.
As I sat in the audience on July 1st and I saw what you were doing with the calabash, so you got to explain me, because I feel a little embarrassed that I don't even know about that.
Don't feel embarrassed. It's part of us. It's okay. The calabash is very symbolic. It's also very sacred. It's what our ancestors used, and it's very spiritual. Now, for me personally, I can never wear shoes on the Emilia Wilson Park. I can't.
Oh, really?
I always go there without shoes. I can never wear shoes. That is a place to me, it's very sacred. And I respect the grounds where our ancestors have toiled, where they have lived, where they have worked. And it's significant for all of us. I don't wear shoes on the Emilia Wilson Park. For me, before I began anything, I always give appreciation, gratitude to our forefathers, our ancestors. And I do it with water. Now, we know there are 4 elements: earth, water, air, and fire. Water is very important. It signifies purity. It signifies strength. It signifies spirituality. It signifies who we are. So with the calabash, I always throw the water in 4 corners, as you saw me did it on the park, welcoming our ancestors who have been there and who are there present at the moment that we cannot see, but they are there spiritually. So before I do anything, I ask their permission, and I thank them for guiding not only me, all of us. And that's why the symbol of the calabash with the water.
And it's amazing because when I was growing up as a little boy, and I was saying this the other day in other program, that we had a lot of calabash trees all over. We used to play with them, mash them up, not realizing the significance of that tree.
It's so, you know, my first calabash was given to me by my mom. I was like, yeah, she said, do you know the meaning of a calabash? And she explained me more. And I'm so grateful that my mother were able to pass on that legacy to me that was given to her by her mom and her mom and her mom. So we see that it's passed on to generation. So what I'm doing or trying to do is to teach all of us the significance of a calabash. And I always have my calabash with me in my bag. I would drink water from my calabash. At home, I use calabash as well. I even bathe with a calabash.
Yeah.
You know, because I always say when we know ourselves and we know who we are and the greatness of us, because we come from greatness, Mr. Gibbs, and if we understand that, we will only be doing great things.
But do you think this generation today don't realize what their ancestors did throughout history and that greatness? You think they really realize that?
Some of them do, some of them don't, and that's why it's my responsibility or our responsibility to teach and to continue teaching and to do research and to continue doing research. We see in different islands, different countries where persons are very motivated by their cultural history or ancestral history. We have that history in St. Martin too, but we normally do it verbally, passed on verbally. So nothing is really documented. So to put pen to paper. And that's what I'm working on right now, because it's very important that you leave something documented that our generations to come can know that this is part of our beautiful history. And we are never too old to learn. And the elders are willing to share with us the knowledge that they have.
And what I like too about July 1st is that when I looked around the park, I saw people from all walks of life, all races. I think that was beautiful.
Yes. You know, because it's about telling the people, listen, this is our day. This is a day to celebrate. Now, I always tell people who say emancipation, we have been emancipated from abolition of slavery. No, the Dutch had no other option but to let us go because everybody else was already freed. So I decided to call it cultural ancestral emancipation. Is celebration. So celebrating the greatness and the heritage of who we are, who we always have been. And if, as I said, young people today, if you take time and you listen to them, they have a lot to say, but we are not hearing them. And that's why on a day like July 1st, get the schools involved, get different people from all walks of life, like you said, involved, and it's getting bigger. And the beauty of July 1st is that people come with their blanket and they have a picnic-style celebration on the park.
It's a whole family day out, huh?
Correct.
Yeah.
And the children can run on the park freely, no cars, you don't have to worry, afraid of this. You let them run freely, and that is so important of July Day.
You know, the governor, His Excellency Governor Holliday, gave a very powerful speech on that day. I don't know if you listened, but
Yes,
I thought it was one of his best speeches he ever gave since he's governor.
He did, and what is so important when he spoke about our ancestors and their voices and celebrating our ancestors. Because as I said, if we understand the significance of July 1st, Mr. Gibbs, there is so much that we still have to do, and we are doing. But as I believe that July 1st will be a day that will go down in history on Emilia Wilson Park for generations to come.
And you know what? You know, we've had, he's not the first native person from St. Martin to be governor. But if you go back many years, most governors were from Holland.
Correct.
They were Caucasian. And you look at the office of the governor, he's a representative of the crown. So when I listened to that speech and coming from him, it made me feel like, wow, this is great. I really admire what he's doing here. It takes a lot of courage to speak like that, to looking at the office and also the person and us as a people. And that's why I admire it so much. And I hope that we will take here and listen to that speech, because it was very, very significant. There was a message there, not only for the people, but also for the government.
Correct. And remember, he is a grassroots St. Martiner.
Right.
His grandfather, his father, are grassroots St. Martiners, also with a legacy. So he's also looking at that, coming out of that background, which is so beautiful and significant for all of us as St. Martiners.
Yeah, because I always hear about his grandfather, and he was a great builder. Some of the best roads to build in St. Martin was built by his grandfather.
And house.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, yes.
And there's one still standing there on the L.B. Scott Road in St. Peter, and every time I pass by, I watch that house, I say, wow, it says, imagine that house in its days.
So you see the greatness of our own St.
Right.
Martin people. That is greatness. And we have to build on that greatness.
And at the same time, I look around and I say to myself, we had so many great carpenters and masons, and did you know we import them from around the region, and our own people now kind of despises that. And if we look back 40, 50 years, some of our greatest St. Martiners came out of that profession.
Correct. And we have to look at our young people, because not everybody's going to be professors and lawyers. Some children are hands off. And we have to respect that as well. We do not put enough into that, into our children, where they just want to work with their hands. And I always say a country is built by the roots of their generation. We have to invest more in our children, in our education, in what our children are giving us today. And once we give them the right values, the right principles, we're going to be working great for the next years to come.
You said a key word, invest in our. I think we're not doing that sufficiently.
No, not enough. And we have to do it more. And I always tell parents, you have to invest right now in your children. Invest in your children. It's going to pay off in the long run, because it's a choice you make to have these children.
Yeah.
Whether or not they are already here, invest in your children. Our government have to invest more in our children. I believe that sometimes we think, I'm here to stay. No, none of us is. My father always said, the knowledge and the wisdom that you have is to share, is not to keep. Today he's not here, but I'm here.
Right.
And I'm building on the knowledge and the wisdom my father had. And it continues. So it doesn't die out. It continues to live. And it will live through all the generation of St. Martin once we invest in our young people.
You're right, because a good investment in your children is a powerful legacy.
Correct. Correct. You know, my brother told us once when we did our family reunion for my dad, he said, our father was refused a scholarship to go study at the university. And my father said, it is okay. I will not get that university degree, but my children will be the ones to do that. And today, here we are with university degrees.
Right.
So he knew, he had that vision for all of us, because he invested in all of us with the knowledge and the wisdom. And that is important.
I got to say, what you're doing, and I was saying to you earlier too, this island has come a long way. We don't recognize the past as we should, like other Caribbean islands, but at least now with Voices Foundation, I can see something in that direction.
Yes, because I believe if you understand your past, you know where you're going in your future. You don't live in the past, but you recognize the past. You learn from the past, and you can move on. Because as a people, as a strong people, St. Martin people are very strong, and they will give you their heart. And one thing I know about St. Martin people, Mr. Gibbs, we love each other. We just love us St. Martiners. You go anywhere in the world, don't mess with St. Martin people. Don't mess with a rock. We will be able to sit down and criticize each other, but don't let anybody else try to do that. That's us as St. Martiners.
Yeah.
And I love it about my people, because at the end of the day, we are still going to stand up for what we believe in and fight for what we know is right. A lot of things are happening right now in St. Martin, going different direction. But when push comes to shove, we will get it straight. We will get it correct.
And St. Martin is still a small family. You know? People may see thousands of people there, but you look around, it's basically, what, 20, 25 families and really make up this island.
Correct. And you are known by your parents. People recognize you. Oh, you're so-and-so daughter. You are so-and-so son. And that is so interesting that you still have that today. Or they look at you and say, you look or you remind me of. And you come to realize, yeah, but that's my aunt, or that's my uncle. And you see the family tree, the family history right there.
Yeah. It's just amazing, you know. So what you have planned? You going to share it with me, or you're going to keep it a secret?
A little secret for now, but one thing I would love to share is that Voices Foundation have been nominated about 2 months ago. We got a donation from Laureate Online University. They picked 10 organizations worldwide, and Voices Foundation was one of those foundations on the job that we are doing within the community. And I felt very honored to be able to know that people out there, not in St. Martin, it's from Holland, that are looking at what we are doing here in St. Martin and were able to honor us and give us a donation. Because Voices Foundation does everything on its own. So we don't have, we say we pick this, no. We do everything on our own for now, or with small donations we will get from persons. And very grateful to those donations and the sponsors that we have had over the years that have been able to sustain us, and we're able to sustain ourselves. And like you asked me earlier, what is the plan for Voices? Now Voices, as I said, is building itself slowly but surely and steadily, because that is important, to have a steady foundation that when the wind blows, you stay steadfast. You don't waver either side, you just stay steadfast. And we are working on some new goals for 2016, but we are looking now at International Day of Abuse for Women in November. We will be celebrating that big time this year as well, because that's very important.
It's also a memory of your sister.
Correct. And to bring awareness to women and men and children and what we are doing, because we could talk about the abuse, but we want to teach people to understand that they have the diamond within themselves.
Exactly.
And to polish that diamond from deep within, and let it shine.
Because that's still a big problem in St. Martin and in the Caribbean area.
Let your diamond shine. You have to know who you are and know your self-worth and know you're worth everything as an individual, and especially as a woman. And I always say I am not here to judge anyone. That's not my role. My role is to help you use the tools that you already have correctly, wisely, and enjoy using those tools, because that is important. And the change will come on how we think and what we say and what we do. That's very important. We have to be able to be a living, walking example when we talk about we want growth, we want change. We have to become that first. And then it becomes like a magnet, and you attract other changes to you. And together, that big change will manifest itself.
Well, I want to thank you for coming in and being my guest. You always say we are great people. You're a great organization. You're doing great work for St. Martin. And I want to wish you all the best and continued success.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be on your show, Mr. Gibbs.
Thank you very much. That's it for now. See you all next time. Till then, good night. Take care. Bye.